Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of NASCAR DFS Preview. I'm AustYn.
And I am Yacs.
And we are going kind of up to Bristol, Tennessee.
Northwest. Northwest.
Yep. So
it's Bristol, baby.
I guess it's not really northwest if we're counting Richmond, but a little west. Actually, I don't know. They're kind of close.
Well,
but anyway,
from the Charlotte area, we are northwest.
Yes. So for the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race, they don't call it the Irwin Tools night race anymore, or there's no 500-mile deal anymore.
500 lap, yeah.
Yep.
No numbers.
Yep. So
just night race.
Yep. For the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race.
We're racing at night on a Saturday.
Yep, and it's also a cut race for the NASCAR playoffs too. So what is it? 4 drivers going to be eliminated from the field this week.
There'll be 12 still standing after Saturday night.
Yep. In terms of Bristol Motor Speedway, it is one of my favorite races to watch and go to. But in terms of DFS, it's actually very difficult.
It's hectic.
It's probably between that and Martinsville because of the 500 lap deal. That makes it so insanely difficult to pick your strategy. You really have to have a driver that leads most of the laps, and if you don't, you're not going to win, more than likely. I mean, there could be rare instances, and I'm sure it has happened in the past. I can't think of anything right offhand, but where they've led like 40 and 50 laps, a bunch of people, but that doesn't normally happen. Last year, Kevin Harvick won the race, and this year they ran on dirt, and I think it's coming back next year, unfortunately.
It is.
So, I do know they haven't ran the paved part of the track this year.
No.
So there's no really statistics to look at other than last season. But Kevin Harvick dominated that race, and like 6 drivers finished on the lead lap. 5 cautions, and 3 of them, 2 of them were stages.
I think you're probably going to be seeing that again this year. Maybe not 6 lead lap finishers, but 10 maybe?
To 15.
10 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be a little more wrecks this year just because
the stakes are higher.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stakes are higher too, so it's going to be a cut race. I can't remember if last year was or not, to be honest with you.
I think it was, but I don't remember. I can't say.
But 500 laps, nonetheless, is very difficult to pick a good strategy in DraftKings. They have 10 sets of tires, so, I mean, that's plenty, to be honest with you, because they can run really 100 and some laps on gas here at this track. Yeah, and tires don't wear that much. I mean, they do, but it's not crazy. So, yeah, that's about all I have to add for that. We had technical difficulties with the Richmond video. We did one, and didn't happen. So hopefully this one will happen.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yep.
I hope so. I hope it works out.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a good video last week, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Do you got anything else to add there?
I don't. If you want to talk about the schedule for next year, you mentioned Bristol Dirt. They're adding. I forget the technical name of it, but it's Gateway. They're adding that to the schedule. The Clash is going to be at LA Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, I don't know
I don't know what to think of that. I don't know what that's going to be like. That's going to be, I guess they're trying to remake the Cars movie.
I don't know,
because that's basically what they ran out at their. That was their big race in the Cars movie.
Yep.
So.
I remember people had been saying, like on the old NASCAR games, and it was either 05 or 04, the Dodge.
The Dodge Stadium, the Welland modified track.
That was pretty cool.
That was fun when you were racing that in the game.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what it's going to be like. Who knows?
I don't like Bowman Gray, probably.
Yeah. I kind of wondered why they didn't go to Bowman Gray. That would have been.
I mean, they do have a lot of local short tracks in North Carolina, and I mean, I don't know.
I guess they just couldn't really fit the haulers and do all that. I don't know.
How many people are actually going to go to that race in California?
I don't know. We'll see. We will see. I mean, it's not a points race or anything, but we'll see.
Maybe it's just for television.
It's going to be the Clash.
Yep.
The Clash.
But yeah, I mean, Gateway being added. Did Pocono lose an event? That's probably how they
I think so. Yeah, I think that was in exchange for the one Gateway race. And Homestead's going to be back in the playoffs. It may be an elimination race. I think
it should be the finale.
I think I think so too. But I think it's an elimination race going into the round of 8 or ending the round of 8. No, it's not ending the round of 8, but it's in the round of 8. I do know that somehow or some way. I don't know if it's an elimination race or not.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. I can't remember if there's been any like big changes other than that to the schedule coming up. I don't think so. We'll let you know in later videos if there are.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we'll cover it next time.
Yeah.
I didn't do a whole lot of research on it. So.
No, I just kind of glanced at it too.
Yep. All right, so let's just go ahead and get in here and see what DraftKings has offered for us. So, no surprise here. The number one most expensive driver is Kyle Busch, starting in 9th at 11.5. Kyle Larson starting in 5th at 11.3. Denny Hamlin starting in 2nd at 10.8. Chase Elliott starting in 4th at 10.5. And Joey Logano starting in 3rd at 10.2. So we only have 5 10K drivers this week. Not really a shocker. Kyle Busch is a dominant performer here at this racetrack. His average finish is 12.8, so you're looking around 13th. One of the things to note about the drivers in the field at Bristol, 12th is the best average finish, which is, different from like Richmond or Darlington, because Bristol is it. You have your drivers that are good there, but it is a track too that you have a lot of luck. It's difficult passing lap cars, especially when you're running out front. It's difficult not to get in an accident because you're going so fast, and if someone messes up, misses pit road entrance, or maybe comes out on the track, or just anything, tire goes down right in front of you, it's really hard to avoid it because everything's happening so quick. When you get around 15, 16 seconds, probably more like 16, but it's a challenging track for sure. But it is a racetrack that a lot of these drivers really love. It's just something that really embodies NASCAR to me. But the thing about Kyle Busch, he's starting in 9th. He's won here 8 times, so it's not weird to see him first. But there was one driver that I really wanted to go with this week, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on him. That is Kyle Larson starting in 5th. So he's at 11.3. I feel really confident that Kyle Larson is going to come away with a victory this week. I think he has locked himself in the top 12, but it still doesn't matter. The Hendrick cars are going to be really quick here. But it is something to see that William Byron and Alex Bowman are actually on the outside looking in. Chase Elliott is not locked in either. He could, if he has a bad race, he might miss the playoffs. It's not highly likely, but it's possible. And how about this? There's only, 6 drivers in the field that have won at Bristol. 8 with Kyle Busch, 6 with Kurt Busch, which you see is starting in 15th at 9.6. Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick have won here 3 times each. And then Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano have won here twice. So there are no one-time winners. Kyle Larson, I believe, will be that one-time winner. Now, we do have $77.40 to spend here, and this is kind of what my strategy is. A lot of your drivers are starting in pretty good spots, to be honest with you. One thing, scroll all the way down here. Starcom Racing there was like a leak that they might be done next year, so their charter will be up for sale. I don't know who's going to get it or not. Colleague or I don't know if Denny. Trackhouse bought chips.
Yeah, they did.
Or Ganassis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody will get it. I'm not sure who's going to get it at this point.
In front row,
I've heard they're selling
downsizing to 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard. So I don't know. That'll be interesting.
So the field will look a little different next year. The thing about pricing on DraftKings here that really confused me, and I'll cut it off here at Justin Haley. David Starr is starting in 38th, and he is more expensive than Michael McDowell and Corey Lejoy. Now, I didn't fully understand that. I don't know if
what in the world.
I don't know if they're looking for. I really don't know. He's had one start here in his career.
Oh my goodness!
And it was in the 2000, it was before 2010, and it was for Levine. So it was one of the first races Levine ever ran, probably. David Starr was in it. He's a guy from Texas, and I know Bob Levine was from Texas, so I'm sure it was just a connection there. But yeah, don't understand that one. Why he's starting?
Did you look at his stats?
He finished in the mid-20s.
Oh, well, man, that's surprising there.
Yeah. So I don't really understand it. But anyway, he's there at 5,800. So if you want to take a risk, he's starting. I guess is that dead last? Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be.
So I mean, it's not even he'll finish 10 or 15 laps down, probably.
Very likely.
So I mean, definitely not a FanDuel. Well, it could be a FanDuel pick, I guess.
He's 2,500 on FanDuel, as I'm looking at it right now.
I mean, he probably won't wreck, but I don't know.
Who knows?
Anyway, I'll get off that high horse there. But Ryan Preece is starting in 27th at 6,000, and I went ahead and pulled the trigger on Ryan Preece. So Ryan Preece's average finish here is 16th. Really like that positive value there. Preece he's a modified driver. It seems like a track that he would run really well at, and I know he's looking for a ride next year. So I can see him at least getting a top 20, especially in that price range. That leaves us with 81.75. So a couple drivers to note here. Matt DiBenedetto starting in 19th at 8.4. He's a pretty interesting option. Austin Dillon starting in 18th at 8.2. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 23rd at 7.2. Those are some pretty good options. But there is one driver in particular that if I was betting on a driver to win this week, it's going to be a playoff driver, and it would be Tyler Reddick. So he's starting in 13th at 7,600. He finished 4th here last year. And he has an average finish of 6th in the Xfinity Series. This is one of his best tracks in terms of the Xfinity Series, too. His average finish is 20th in the Cup Series, only because the first race was not that good, but the 4th really brought it up. Really like Tyler Reddick this week. I think he gets a good finish, and I think he could contend for the win. And I think that fills your lineup out pretty well. The thing about Bristol, you can pick some drivers that start towards the back like I did with Ryan Preece, but I think Preece, if he gets a top 25, which I feel like it's pretty likely, it's pretty much worth it at 6,000. I do think Preece could get a top 15. I mean, he finished, his average finish is 16th here. I mean,
yeah, he runs well.
One of his better tracks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my mindset is at there. I mean, Bubba Wallace is an interesting option at 7,500, starting in 28th. You can go with him. You can go with a Chase Briscoe starting in 20th. Briscoe's a little more risky to me. I do think he'll run well here. He did win the last Xfinity race here, but I'm not going with him this week. And Ricky Stenhouse is a very good option too. Average finish of 17th, so you can get some positive value there. But a driver that I am definitely looking at is Corey Lejoy. So Corey Lejoy starting in 31st, 5,600. His average finish is not good here, 29.3, but I really like how they performed at Darlington. And he's so cheap that I feel like in making your lineup, you have to pick at least two. I'm going to pick 3 drivers that I think could win the race, but honestly, I think I got 4 with this week's. And you need those 2 drivers to just get positive EV. Lejoy has gotten a 24th here before, and really that's all I'm asking for. And I think that they can get that. So 97.50 is what I'm left with. I mean, you could pull the trigger on like an Austin Dillon and Matt DiBenedetto, and then you have enough for Bowman. Bowman's not that great here. That is a pretty solid lineup, though. Mm-hmm. But
a lot of potential with their starting spots.
Yep.
As far as that goes.
Yep, and you could, pull out DiBenedetto, and you got, enough money to get Kurt Busch. I mean, that's not a bad looking lineup either.
I really like it.
And that's one that, I've toyed with too. But the one that I'm ultimately going with, I am going with Lejoy, so I'm going to go a little risky. Hoping that he gets a top 25 or so. Looking at Chase Elliott. So let me find him here. So he's starting in 4th. He actually has the best average finish among active drivers at Bristol. And I think with that starting spot, I got a good feeling he's going to lead some laps. Martin Truex Jr. starting on the pole is terrible here. 3 top 10s in his whole career.
Yeah.
You think about how long Truex has been racing? That's something. So I don't see Truex performing that well. Denny Hamlin, might do all right. Logano, I'm a little worried about. I didn't pull the trigger on him. But I do think Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson will be up front most of the day. Leaves me with $9,000. And I'm going with Kevin Harvick. So he's starting in 8th at $9,000. Harvick is really good here, 13.5 average finish. Half of his races have been top 10s. Kind of like the way they've been driving here lately. And with his 3 wins, I feel pretty comfortable he can get a top 10. Really just a safe pick for me. But Larson, Elliot, Harvick, Reddick, I really like those front 4. So let me just clean it up here. So Larson at 11.3, Chase Elliott at 10.5, Kevin Harvick at 9,000. Scrolling down here, Tyler Reddick starting in 13th at 7.6. Ryan Preece starting in 27th at 6,000, and Corey Lejoy starting in 31st. So that is what I'm going with on DraftKings. Let's throw it over to Yacs on FanDuel.
All right, so we're gonna. Well, I was all the way down at the bottom. We're gonna look at the top right here, the $12,000 Tier 1 cutoff line. Not much really changing from week to week from here on out. I don't think it's going to be any different in the upcoming. Well, I guess there'll be 7 more weeks after this, if I'm not mistaken. Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr. One thing I really hate, it'll probably be cleaned up by race day, but there's no starting spots shown on FanDuel as of yet. We're recording this Thursday, so
well, they're slacking.
Yeah, they don't have their starting spot, so that made research a little more difficult. But
it's a Saturday night race.
Yeah, but we're gonna get it done. Right off the bat, I really wanted to pick a guy that has a good history here, that a guy that's going to be in the midst of playoff implications. And I can't think of a better guy than Kurt Busch. Starting in the 15th spot. He had some bad luck last week. Kind of got banged up, and then he couldn't finish the race. So he got moved. I think he was within the top 5 before the race started, and then he's 15th as the race. No, he's 12th. He's 12th. I put 15th.
He's starting 15th.
He's starting 15th. Okay, so he's 12th in the playoffs, but he's starting 15th.
Yep.
Okay, so he's a 6-time winner here. And that's not just because in the past, in the distant past, he was good here. He's been really good here as of late. 6.8 in his last 5. So Kyle Busch is the only better average in the last 5 than Kurt Busch. So second best out of the last 5. And he's racing for a playoff spot. I think that's a great pick. He's 10,000. And there's a lot you can do from here on out with the rest of your lineup. We're going to move down. Move all the way down to the bottom. AustYn mentioned this earlier. He said, well, a lot of these guys are going to get lapped, and that's just going to be the case. That's what's going to happen. 500 laps, these guys will be 15, 20 laps down. Most of these in this area. Mm-hmm. 2,000 to 3,000, most of these guys will be 15 to 20 laps down, unless they get in a wreck, and they'll be hundreds of laps down.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you can, if you pick the right guy, and we're going to go with one of these guys that's not too far away from the very bottom tier, Corey Lejoy. 4,500. He is starting 31st. Last 5's not good at all. 31.4 average in his last 5. But I'm looking at how he's performed lately, and he is, when you watch the races, he has really performed great. Considering what equipment that they're in, he's performed great. One finish, I mean, this is a crazy stat, but one finish outside of the top 30 in his last 19 races. He's starting 31st. You want positive, and if you can get positive out of Corey Lejoy at 4,500, that's all you can ask. I think my bold prediction, he's going to get a top 20. He's going to get his first top 20 in a while. Because he hadn't really had. He's finished just on the outside. It's not that bold, but he's just finished on the outside of the top 20. He's been really close. I think he gets it done this week. And he has a good history in the lower divisions of NASCAR. He got a top 10 in 2016 in the Xfinity Series. And in the Truck Series, he's only raced 2 races. He has 1 top 10. Guess where it is? Bristol. It's at Bristol. So he has a good history at Bristol. And I think he'll have a good finish this week. And as long as he stays off the wall, as long as he stays away from other cars, and he runs the race that he wants to run, I think he's going to have a good finish.
Yeah.
We're going to move up, though. We're going to have, just spoiler alert, we're going to have plenty left to spend. there's a lot of these guys that I kind of liked. Michael McDowell, he's ran well in the last 2 or 3 races here. He's hovered around the top 15. I think he even got a top 10 in the last, maybe in the last Bristol paved race. He's ran really well here, but the 16th starting spot is just going to be too much. I think that's just way too risky for someone like him. And also those gamblers out there, he's 500 to 1 odds to win the championship. So if you want to throw a couple thousand down, get a big payoff there.
Yeah, you could
get $1 million payoff.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, he's good here, but I just don't like that starting spot. He's 16th, and he'll very likely be out of the playoff contention after Saturday night. But we're gonna move up. Eric Jones, great history here, but he's never ran the paved portion of Bristol in the 43 car. And I feel like that's just going to be the story for the rest of the season. It's been the story for the whole season. He's not ran these races in the Richard Petty Motorsports 43 car. He's a good risk at 5,500. I don't know where he's starting. And do you know where he's starting?
20th, 21st.
20th. That's not bad. I think he can get top 15. He could maybe flirt with the top 10. But who knows? I'm not going to take that risk, but I think it could pay off. 22nd.
Yeah.
It could pay off in the end for taking that risk at 5,500. Ryan Preece, AustYn mentioned him. You even went with Ryan Preece.
Yep.
5,000. That's a good price for him. Great finishes in his last 2 or 3. And we're going to move up, though. We're not going to go with him. But you could. You could take the risk definitely at 5,000. Ryan Newman has a good history here, but his last race, it wasn't that good. And really, in general, he's just not ran well. And I think Ryan Newman, sadly, is on his way out pretty soon. Well, he's definitely on his way out of Roush, but I think he's just going to hang it up probably. Who knows? A lot of decent drivers here that you could go with, but it just makes it's just so weird not seeing the starting lineups, the starting positions on the icons. But there's a lot of guys you could go with here. Bubba Wallace was a guy that I had written down, but I crossed him out because I felt like I had too much money left to spend that I could take advantage of. Bubba Wallace, he's decent here. He's not awesome here, but he's decent here. It's one of his decent tracks. And 7,000, that's not a crazy amount to spend for him. So 28th, I think he's starting 28th. So that's not bad at all. And he could climb in the top 20 easily. I feel like DiBenedetto's been hit or miss at Bristol. When he's hit, he's really hit, and he's just really good here when he's really good, and he's bad when he's really bad.
Yeah.
Great analysis, but we're going to move on. What we have here, we have 11,833 on average left to spin. We're going to get one of our big guys out of the way, though. And I mentioned him earlier, but we're going to go with Kirk's brother Kyle. 13.5 is how much he's going to cost this week on FanDuel. 6.2 average in his last 5. He leads the pack. Kurt Busch was second, as I mentioned earlier. He is 9th in the standings. He is starting 9th. He's 8 points from the cutoff line. So he's really going to have a good race.
Yeah.
He's definitely, I would say, definitely a top 10. He's got to definitely get a top 10 out of this race. And, I mean,
That's the best track
if he hits the wall, just imagine that. If he hits the wall, he's done. He's out of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Very likely. Unless, I mean, crazy circumstances, but it could go down like that. One thing, other than the 8 times he's won here, which is just crazy, and he's finished on the lead lap 21 of 31 times, which that's really crazy at Bristol because, I mean, most of your drivers just in general, they're below 50% finishing on the lead lap. That's just going to happen. In the last 5, nobody's finished all 5 races on the lead lap, which it's insane when you look at it. But Kyle Busch, in all the laps that he's turned at Bristol, 16.7% of the laps that he's turned at Bristol, he has led. 16.7, and he's raced there 31 times.
Yeah.
That's insane. Starting 9th, that could be a sign of things to come as well. He could lead a lot of laps. Ninth's that's not a big hill to climb, and so to speak. But yeah, he's 13.5. He's the second highest priced driver. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But starting in 9th, that's a good gamble, I feel like. And he's a guy that can definitely win the race. We're going to move, well, we have 11,000 left to spend on the next 2 drivers, and there's a lot of potential we could go with here. We could go someone like Denny Hamlin and have 9,000 left to spend. You can get someone like Alex Bowman, Eric Almirola, Tyler Reddick, all guys fighting for the playoff, the playoff 12, the round of 12. And there's a lot of interesting things you could do with this much money, and you're just going to have a lot of options this week at Bristol. One guy I just really like, and I think, well, he's had a good history here. Ryan Blaney. That's who we're going to go with. He's starting 7th. Last 5 on paper do not look great. 14.8. Not great. But he's raced well. And he's led 339 laps in the last 5, which are the second most out of the last 5. I didn't expect to see that when I was doing my research, but he actually runs well here. So, and not even that, he's just ran well in general in the last 6, 7, 8 races. He's just ran well. And other than like Kyle Larson or Hamlin or Truex, he's probably been up there just consistently running well. 10,800 is what he's priced this week, and that's a steal, I feel like. Starting in 7th. As long as he stays out of trouble, I think he's got a top 5. He's really good here. He's really good here. And we have 11-2 left to spin. A lot of options. We could go with Kevin Harvick. AustYn went with Kevin Harvick. He's had a great history here. I mean, he's had a great history basically everywhere. Brad Keselowski's good history here. He's going to be one of those guys that's on the verge of a playoff spot. Christopher Bell's in that same boat. Ross Chastain's 9,500 this week. He's ran well as of late. It's kind of surprising to see him above like William Byron and Alex Bowman. But I mean, I think it's warranted. He's another guy that has a decent history in the lower tiers of NASCAR here. But we're going to have a lot left to spin. We're going to go with Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, I saw a lot of promise in him in that last race that was paved, not the dirt race, at Bristol. He finished 4th, and if I remember right, he just ran well the whole race. He could have. I think he could have won the race if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was up front.
He was definitely up front, practically the whole time. He's only ran 2 races here, and it's not even worth mentioning, but he had 20.0 average finish in his last 2, but that was all averaged down because he got in an accident, I think, his first race, and then his second race he finished 4th. So, yeah, he's good here, and he's good here in the lower tiers of NASCAR as well. 6.0 average finish in 5 Xfinity races. So he's good. He's good here. And I think we're starting to see Tyler Reddick just be consistent in a lot of tracks. And I think he's going to be one of those guys in the future that's just going to be running well week to week. And we'll look at our final lineup. We have 2,700 left to spin. I feel like that's really weird at a track like Bristol, but as I look at this lineup, I think it's just a great lineup. I feel like you have, honestly, I mean, you have 4 guys that could win the race.
Mm-hmm.
You have two to 3 guys that could lead a lot of laps for sure, at least. And Corey Lejoy, I think he's just going to climb. I think you're just going to have your value in him climbing some spots. And hopefully, like I said, my bold prediction is top 20 for him. And
that's all you need.
That's all you'd ever need. Starting in 31st, that's 11 spots to climb. And if he finishes better, even better. So that's what I have rolled out for FanDuel this week. And if you have anything to add, just chip in.
No, it looks good.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yep. So I mean, as you can tell, our strategies are pretty similar.
Yeah.
We did pick a couple of the same drivers, Lejoy and Reddick. I had Kurt Busch in my lineup initially, but I think he's going to be picked insanely high, especially on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know so much about FanDuel with the pricing and stuff, but I do think Kurt Busch is going to be a driver that's picked a lot.
Especially considering how last week unfolded.
Yeah,
and he's just on that cutoff line, and I think that's going to persuade a lot of DFS players to go with Kurt.
I mean, he very well could have won Richmond. He was leading and then had that tire go down, basically. I mean, he kept falling back. But, I really think he'll be picked highly. But I honestly think, I don't know. I do think Larson will be picked a lot, but I think people are going to go with Kyle Busch too. So it's going to be a good. Hopefully, people are kind of ignoring the fact about Tyler Reddick. You heard it from the sports chief, though.
Yeah,
we think he's going to perform well. I didn't check his odds to see what his odds are for winning.
I didn't either.
If I had to guess, it'd have to be like 60-1 or more.
I would say.
But yeah,
I'd say that's a good guess.
Yeah. So that's what we got on DraftKings and FanDuel. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below on the video in the comment section. Also hit the bell notification to let you know when our videos go up. But more importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you know that when our videos go up, you can watch them. We're also on Twitter at TheSportsChief, Instagram, and on www.thesportschief.com. We got some good stuff on there too. So NFL season starting up. Garrett put out some articles on that. I believe he's the one that wrote the article.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was.
Oof. Sorry,
it was
rough, but
yeah.
Yes, Garrett was the one that put that article out. Also, we do a little bit of Panther stuff as well since we're local here. But yeah, check us out, and if you got any comments, questions, or concerns, like always, just hit us up below.
It's Bristol, baby.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, we're excited. So
yeah,
500 laps.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what all unfolds Saturday night, and it's going to be a fun race, I feel like.
Yep. All right, so that's all we got, and best of luck to you doing your DFS lineups this week.
All righty, thank you.